some of these wealthy people here, they don't have to live in Beverly Hills. Elon Musk, for instance, he's packing up. He sold his Bel Air home and he's out of here. And I think a lot of the people here may choose to do the same, because part of what you pay for is security. And security has been degrading in the state of California a long time. There's a whole defund the police movement. Today I'm at the world famous Rodeo Drive. Isn't this an amazing spot, Danny?
It's amazing if you're trying to make a vacation in LA.
We're trying to make a vacation in LA, so we came to the spot. It's called Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills. It just happens to be a time period where a lot of things are happening right now. But I thought today would be a perfect day actually to talk about why is Beverly Hills such an exclusive and amazing area to begin with. And one of the major reasons why the whole Beverly Hills area, you know, started because of oil exploration. At first they thought that they would actually find oil here. Now it's true that they actually, I think they still drill for oil, amazingly enough, at Beverly Hills High School. But what happened was they discovered water, not oil. The water was a big thing back. Yeah, actually the water was one of the discoveries. Apparently there's water. I guess it's wells, something like that. But if you think about today, let's look at today. This is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the country, if not the world. And you have to think about why that is. Because there are a lot of places. There's Africa, there's Latin America. If you're wealthy and you have $10 billion, you have to put your money somewhere. And a lot of the people around the world who have a ton of money, they've actually dumped their money into things like residential real estate, or these buildings right here. These are commercial properties. And people around the world invest in this because they feel that it's safe. I mean, they don't want it in their own currencies, cash. They put it into these buildings. And it's based upon the assumption that the money will be safe, that nothing will happen, that the police will protect these buildings, that they'll arrest anyone who creates riots and things like that. But I think one problem is that I think that this view is starting to erode. I think that investors around the world are probably going to start losing some trust in this area, because you can't have a dysfunctional California and a dysfunctional county of Los Angeles and expect, oh well, Beverly Hills, it can survive as a kind of little tiny temporary pond in a sea of dysfunction. It doesn't work like that. I think people around the world are rightly saying, I don't want to invest in Beverly Hills anymore, because that area is surrounded by a lot of dysfunction, and eventually the dysfunction will overtake Beverly Hills too, because there's no way that one tiny area can survive as an area without actually dealing with the externalities and the dysfunction that exists. It's just not the way it works. So I think that's something to keep in mind, that long term, I think that Beverly Hills is down. Look at this. This is for lease. And we see this all over Beverly Hills, actually. It's actually starting to become a much more common thing lately. And a lot of it just has to do with the fact is that we have, through QE, we've actually stimulated the value of these properties to such an extent that there's no way that if you buy it, you would actually get a renter who can actually pay you enough to actually make it worthwhile. It just doesn't add up long term. And that's one reason why there is as much of a dysfunction as it is, because if you buy this building for $20 million, you're going to expect a certain amount of rent. But no business can actually afford to, even the big buildings that are, the big businesses that are focused on luxury products, even they're not able to actually pay the kind of rent that's expected. And as a result, you get an incredible amount of vacancies in these areas. So I think long term, I'm very bearish on Beverly Hills. I know that it has a very storied history, and this shows you that in the world of events, that things that you think are unlikely to happen, they actually happen just randomly. And a lot of it has to do with the fact is that unfortunate developments happen because people are not really thinking about the worst possible outcome as time goes on, and people are not really prepared for those kinds of issues. And that's one reason why people buy real estate here. They're buying these commercial properties, then they're almost shocked. They're like, hey, I can't rent to anybody and make a profit on the price that these things are going for. And it just has to do with a lot of things happening at the same time, just quantitative easing. riots, instability. The COVID also has made an issue because there's nobody buying right now, because a lot of these things it's really difficult to operate right now. People can't really come here from around the world. Here's another one for lease. It proves my thesis that these buildings are going to go down in value. And I think you see a lot of these for lease right now. You're going to actually see a ton more going for lease in the near future. And actually, they'll be available for people to purchase too, just because the truth is that a lot of these are way overvalued. So the other issue is the issue of crime. One of the biggest selling points of Beverly Hills for a long period of time was that this was an extremely safe neighborhood, has the best police force. But a few months ago in the summer, a whole bunch of Antifa people came here and just created a big giant riot. Now, they didn't really cause too much damage, but I think that it actually kind of shattered the illusion that that kind of thing could never happen in the city of Beverly Hills. And I think to people around the world who had previously thought, hey, I should invest here. All right, let's go to the world's most expensive store. We're gonna show you an exception to this rule, and also talk about the theory of this. This is a store right here. This store you probably have never heard of. It's called Bijan, designed for men. This is absolutely the most expensive store in the entire world, and I'll explain some of the theory behind this store. So this is the absolute most expensive store in the entire world. See, it says by Bijan, by appointment. You cannot go in here unless you have an appointment.
Obama's shoes right here, worn by Obama.
That's the one.
I'm not sure if they're the same exact. Maybe they probably just loaned them and then they just have them on display. And here's a interesting portrait of several presidents. You don't really get to see all of them all at once like that in the same spot very often.
So this store, you have to make an appointment in order to get inside. The things in here are extremely expensive. Now, as an example, you know the face masks that you buy it on Amazon? They sell a face mask for $500. Now, I don't know if it actually even prevents the viruses at a higher rate than any other. I don't know about that at all, but I know that it looks beautiful. It's like golden, looks very nice. So the greatest thing about this guy is, if you think about it, the psychology of the store is amazing. For one thing, no riffraff allowed. Nobody goes in unless you have an appointment. And also, it's brilliant the way he gets presidents to wear the outfits. So I don't know if the president's even paid, but what matters is for people who are like doctors or actors in this area, they're told, hey, you know what, the past presidents, they wear this kind of clothing. And that's a huge selling point, because if you're in the elite, you want to wear and do things that the other members of the elite do, and that's been a huge factor. They just copy each other. And what's interesting is I've seen items from this store on eBay. You can get it fairly affordably, ironically. So a lot of this strategy of the store, make it exclusive, make it seem, and the customer service is also amazing too. Once you're inside, they will spend all of their attention on you, like just devote their attention on you. They give you individual attention. They really just give you great advice. And so I think that's a major selling point for people who like to go there. Would you like to go inside the store? Do you think they would give us a tour with your camera? I'm sure that you can say, hey, I'm sure they would be more than willing to let you in.
That would be something.
Smash the like button and write in the comments below that you want us to do a tour of the store, because I'd be more than willing to offer it. Maybe they'll be interested in letting us tour it.
Notice there's no Trump picture?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if Trump wears their clothing here, to be honest. It's not clear, but maybe. I actually think he probably has owned something from here. I do have the feeling that maybe Trump has bought something from here, but they're trying to be a little bit politically correct and they don't have it. Now, here's another cool thing about the store that you don't get this, you don't see this at any other place in Beverly Hills. Let's walk over here. When you talk about exclusivity, you don't normally see a situation where the store, you know, the store is golden. The store itself has a golden parking meter. Isn't that pretty awesome? The Bijan parking meter. They obviously have very good connections with the city hall to get that. So I'm pretty impressed by that overall. The store itself used to be on the other side. I think it's now, I forgot what It's not really clear what it was before. They sold it and they just moved across the street. So yeah, in this area of Beverly Hills, these homes behind me, they're worth a fortune, millions and millions and millions of dollars. And what's funny about it is that you're not paying for the, this price because the homes are big, because the same homes in places like Texas are really a lot more affordable. So what are you actually really paying for? You're paying for the location. If you're a Hollywood bigwig or a celebrity, you need to be in the Hollywood area because that's where all the action is. At least traditionally, that was the case. You needed to be close to where a lot of the business was taking place, and this is close to Hollywood. You don't want to live in Hollywood because it's kind of grungy and it's its own city and it's not run very well. Whereas Beverly Hills, it always prided itself on its independence, at least since the 1920s when it became a city. And now I think that we're entering a time period where people are questioning some of these assumptions. Some of these wealthy people here, they don't have to live in Beverly Hills. Elon Musk, for instance, he's packing up. He sold his Bel Air home and he's out of here. And I think a lot of the people here may choose to do the same because part of what you're paying for is security. And security has been degrading in the state of California a long time. There's a whole defund the police movement and stuff like that. Oh yeah, this is cool. No more bullshit. No more bullshit. You got that? So yeah, people are really very, very frustrated because the security situation, it has definitely started to collapse in many parts of California. The whole defund the police movement is scaring investors, I believe, around the world. If you're in India or if you're in Singapore and you have like millions of dollars and you're like, hey, I should put money in real estate, you're probably thinking, well, I would put in some in Beverly Hills in the past, but that area doesn't seem as safe as it once was. It doesn't seem like it has the most competent leadership. So these small chain decisions that are made locally actually impact things globally in terms of investments. And I think that it shows you that you can never be too vigilant about making sure that you're involved in government, because being involved in the government actually has a huge impact on the economics. They're not distinctive. I know that some people say, well, the government has nothing to do with economics. It doesn't matter who's elected. I can still make money. Yeah, that might be true. But if you have people who really have a strange ideology, an area like this may not be might not be worth a super fortune like it is. There are areas that were really wonderful at one time in Michigan. Some of the big wigs who were running like Ford Motor and General Motors, a lot of those areas were really the homes of the wealthy. And guess what? At some point in time, they were just completely abandoned, and you can see it. It's a pretty sad situation in Detroit. So you always have to, you can never assume or take for granted that your area will always be the way it is forever. You have to always focus on making sure that the right policies are there, because economically it will impact you. You can't just say, oh, I don't care about politics, it doesn't impact me economically. That's completely false. Anyway, you're free to disagree with me. This is a republic after all, and feel free to smash the like button. It really helps with the Google algorithm. Subscribe and let me know what you think of Beverly Hills. Do you think Beverly Hills is going to become a wasteland, or is it the next mecca of wonderful riches? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video.